I was going to go back to what you were saying about not wanting to be known as English, and I am somebody who is technically English but doesn't see myself as such because I've got Irish grandparents and I live in Wales. So I just call myself British. But I wondered, but my husband is very, very firmly an Englishman, and he loves being an Englishman in Wales. As he told one of them, "I'm over here to make sure you lot aren't ruining the place. We conquered you." But he all done with tongue in cheek, and he gets a good laugh. But he's very much a Yorkshireman, and you won't mind me saying that. And I wondered if it's because Scotland and Ireland, Northern Ireland and Wales are very small in comparison, whereas England is like over like 50 million, isn't it? So I was wondering, like maybe people feel more likely to say that they're like from I don't know, like a Londoner or Essex or Scouse or a Geordie. Do you know what I mean? Rather than say that they're English, because I don't know what you think about when you think about England, but it's not. It doesn't normally come across as it's never really associated with anything good. I always think of football hoodlums, with the cross of St George, and it's not really fair, really, because there's loads of great people in all the different bits. But when you think of like Geordies, you think of certain things. Like, you think of like Yorkshiremen or people from Manchester or Lancastrians or Scousers or Essex or Midlands and things like that. You get a specific image, whereas English is just too big a blob. We're just too different. Does that make sense?
Uh, Not really, because when you're in an international space where people are saying what country they're from, you still won't hear very many people say from England. They'll say they're British. They won't say they're English, and it's been noticeable. And perhaps me talking about it might make people think to themselves, why am I not saying I'm English? Why am I sort of like saying I'm British? When in society did the English start calling themselves British? Because did the Scottish go abroad and call themselves British or Scottish? Or, were they calling themselves English? It's that sort of like it's when things changed.
I don't know, because like I always assumed like because like when people say British, they assume English because like that's the majority. So like to differentiate, like I know my Welsh friends are like proper. I'm Welsh. Do you know what I mean? I'm not British. I'm Welsh. They're very very determined.
Do you think it's because the English have been sort of vilified in certain ways and in certain cultures for being colonizers, this, that, and the other? I do hear this narrative that the English, and especially where, the fact that the royal family come from there, the fact that the British Empire comes from England, and you see across the world this idea that, oh, the English are bad, the English are this, the English are that. Um, I think that's maybe where it's come from. We have this idea that, oh, the English, the English hooligans, the English football hooligans. Now, there's several Scottish and Irish hooligans. Why are they not talking about them? This is kind of the thing. Is it because it's the center of the empire? Um,
I think
and
I think it has to be that. Historically, it's obvious because we colonized,
yeah,
3/5 of the world or something ridiculous, industrial revolution, and we created this kind of like capitalist machine that eats everything in sight. So I understand that abroad. I don't understand that I should in any way feel shame at home or in an international space for saying I'm English. I feel I should have allowed to be proud of the fact that I'm English and love my country and have that, some level of patriotism to the history, the some of the tradition.
this is kind of the point. And your country's history is, um, it has depth. It has, like look at your country's history. It is we learn about it at school. Even Irish people learn about it at school. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like people across the world learn about Shakespeare, they learn about Chaucer, they learn about, um, you know, so many things has to do with history and World War One and World War Two, and this is kind of the thing. You shouldn't feel ashamed about where you're from, ever, ever.
Well, here's the
That's
thing.
what worries
See,
me.
I'll have this conversation with people, but I believe there's many people that feel like me that will not have those conversations in any form of like public forum. They might talk to their mate down the pub about it, but they won't be too quick to have these conversations openly. Somehow, finding ways of having these conversations uh, to to perhaps look at this interculturalism is the way to go. But at the same time, I don't see how, with free market capitalism, the housing markets and stuff like that, the interculturalism would be something, it would have to be some form of socialist housing to bring about interculturalism, living together, working together, because it's natural for us to flock to the places that understand us best, like the expats abroad. I do hope there's a way forward with this, but I don't think immigration was the problem. I think immigration has been made a problem because of everybody being ignored. It's not like there aren't plenty of second and third generation immigrants in the country that are also sick of some of the shit that's going on in the country. Yeah, and that they can see that fucking immigration is being used, mishandled, and creating more trouble for, like I said, for second, third generation immigrants.
Just a slight add-on to that, Spiky, about when does society, stop, or when does English society stop calling themselves English? Well, when I was a child, when I was a kid, and what my brothers and cousins, we were told not to call ourselves English. The fact that we were all born in some hospital up and down the country or in London or whatever, we were told, we were chased down the street. In fact, people had marches. We weren't English, even though we were born in England. Because we were told that English was an ethnicity and we weren't it.
That's amazing. I had no clue that being English was like outlawed, sort of like. But I know the skinheads were. They used to go around doing a chant. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but it was something. They use it in football now. It started with England, but it was some chant. I can't remember it. But
Well, even polite society don't want to call black people, English. Yeah, so it's not all the, the hooligan-y types and all the rest of it, and who shout at you, but the lovely, the well-educated, the middle classes. It's just like, thinking that only men can be racist. Actually, so can women too, etc. And
totally.
in fact, most of the overt racism I have experienced, born, bred, raised, educated, and all the rest of it, the UK, has been from white women. So, like, why can't we call ourselves English? Because there are people who don't want, certainly the demographic I'm a constituent of, simply because of my shade of skin. Literally, you know.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
that's it. And I
insane.
can see it 40 paces. I don't have the bit, well, I just don't like her. And why? Really. And I'll take anybody on with that conversation. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers, Jane. I had no idea. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, as fucking as English as anyone I fucking know. And is this been done to set us against each other? Is it being, because it feels like it's being used, and the middle ground conversation doesn't seem to be happening on this.
Quite right. It is a divisive, as old as the Romans and the Egyptians divided you for, and it's about keeping society segregated so we are weaker and that we do not have a group consciousness to fight back those elites in power. When I say elites, I mean the top of the chain of politics and the industrialists who tell our political elites in each of our nations what to do and how to do it to get us where they are. However, just because the media, the fourth estate, and the learned people and those with power, wealth, and authority to tell us to do so and do their best to engineer things to do so, it doesn't mean to say that we as a population of people trying to rub along together need to do what they say. So yes, that is the experience of it. But yes, it's about devices to make us separate from each other, not listen to each other, not want to know each other, and all the rest of it. It's how we part of the mechanism of controlling us.
I'm so glad that you come in and said about this, Jane, and that we ended up having this conversation, because I don't think it happens. People are scared of it. I know I've been scared of sort of like saying stuff. Hi, Jade. How's it going?
All right, so yeah, I'm a first gen, so I feel I can talk about this. So I actually was going to say what Jane said. Like, thing is, how I was taught is that nationality is British and ethnicity is English. They're two separate things. So if I went to somebody and said I'm English, I would be said, no, you're not. They would say, no, you're not. So that's how I was taught. And also, if I did ever say English, a lot of people would say, no, you're fucking not, and probably be a little bit offended. But also, I didn't know if you mentioned English people being afraid of saying they're English. I have never experienced that in my life. No one's ever been afraid to tell me they're English.
I'm on about spaces and sort of like, you know, spaces where there's lots of people and people
Well,
start
I
talking
think
about their country stuff, and also international spaces.
can I just say that I think that's because Americans bully British people quite a lot on Twitter. They do, like, as in take the piss out of them and their accents and like everything about them. I think that's literally why. I know it sounds dumb, but that is why. If you see the trolling, like the memes that Americans make and what they say about British people, it's almost like I'd rather not. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. But yeah, I mean, first gen, I've never said I'm English. So just because I'm not English ethnically. So yeah.
See, to me, English is the country, England.
Yeah, but we live in Britain. It's not
Me too.
England.
Well, no, we don't. That's not
Yeah, yeah,
nationality. I was born
exactly.
in England.
It's like I ain't
Exactly.
European. It's like I ain't European. I'm
Yeah,
English.
but Europe isn't like like it's not a unified nation. That's what I mean. I'm British because I'm not English ethnic. Like, I don't understand how it's not like making sense. Like, British is the nationality. So that is the difference. I obviously, if someone said what part, I'd say England. I'm not going to say I'm like going to lie and be vague, but it's
But
the
England's a
nationality.
country. England
It
is
is.
where you were born.
Yes, that is true. And I would say I was born and raised in England, but I'm not English. That's ethnic. It's
See, to me,
different.
you're English. Yeah.
Well, to me that's ethnicity. So I don't get that.